Strike A Chord Podcast. Music chit chat with your hosts Valentina Gukowski and Amla Periakaba.
Hey everyone, welcome to Strike A Chord. We have special guest Max Myland here, who is I would say, jack of all trades. He's a guitarist, but also a videographer, a photographer. You do both, right?
I do both, yeah.
And we saw something on your profile that, what was it, Yeah, there was something else.
Well, we saw sound engineer as well.
Yeah, we saw sound engineer, but
LX.
That's the one.
Operator.
LX, AV, sound, everything.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
Oh, well, that's it. Oh,
Yeah.
well, it's very impressive.
Also, we've got one more thing as well.
Yes.
He's the founding and head of Mount Kujo.
Yes.
Which is
That's right.
An awesome band. So I had the pleasure of listening to Mount Kujo and organising a night at Brunswick a while ago now, where Stefano was doing his recital. And we had the pleasure of having two great bands on that night. And yeah, it was a cold night though.
I think I remember, but it was good because it was in an op shop.
It was in an op shop.
So
yeah.
we actually
quite big op shop.
Because we usually wear the shirts on stage.
That's
but
right.
It was a cold night, so we asked them if we could have a look through there.
Correct.
Yeah, and we
Correct.
found some colourful jackets.
Yes, I was the one that they asked.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, beautiful.
It was a good night, and that was the night that I heard you guys for the first time. And I thought, how dynamic is the band? But I also spoke to Stefan, and he goes, Max is the guy. So, yeah, well done. Congratulations. It's a really, really, really cool band. And you guys have been together for a while, yeah?
Yeah. I think it's coming up to 5 years.
Jeez.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow. Yeah, I saw you quite a few years ago with Mount Kujo. I don't even remember when, but I was really impressed then. So I'll have to come and see the latest.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you've got a single coming out soon, yeah?
It just came out the other day.
Yeah.
A couple of days ago on Friday.
And
Came out.
what's it called?
Mr. Pink.
Mr. Pink.
Mr. Pink.
And
That's
is
cool.
it in pure Mount Kujo style?
It's well, I mean, I feel like we have the sound has evolved a bit from the early Kujo stuff. It's a bit of like a mystic secret agent style.
Oh, okay. Bondish.
Yeah, flute lead. You're gonna love this one.
Is that Will?
It's Mia.
Oh, Mia.
Yeah.
Oh.
Mia Baham.
After.
She's incredible on flute.
Oh, wow. I have to check her out. Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
She's really blown me away. Like, it's
literally
insane.
blown.
Literally. That's it.
Boom.
Yeah. Check out the track. It's
sweet.
And it features Mia on flute and Tom Pankridge on trombone.
Okay.
So two legends.
Okay.
Who've been with us for a while now.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
With your, I suppose, with your inspiration towards Mount Kujo, where did you start? Where did that journey start? Like, I'm saying even as a kid, or where did that love for I suppose that sort of music for funk and I suppose a bit of psychedelic in there as well, and a bit of this and a bit of that, as you were saying this single as well. Where did it all start?
I mean, I started playing, like, being interested in music and playing the guitar at a young age. I think I've seen a photo from like my kindergarten era where there was someone one of the teachers was a guitarist, and he brought his guitar in, and I apparently asked him for a guitar lesson.
Okay.
And I mean, it was just one lesson, and I can't remember what we did, but the photo looks cool. We're just with guitars, and I was maybe 5 years old or something.
Okay.
So that's as early as it dates back, I'd say, the age of 5. And then I had, like many musicians, I had a bit of a rock era, where we just had a rock band. I mean, that was a thing.
Bit of a garage. Let's call it a garage rock band.
That's it. Good times. We rehearsed. We're still in touch. We're still friends.
Oh, cool.
To this day. Yeah, we rehearsed in a basement where, like, our bass player, he had a house, and they had a basement where they stored coal, like, for, they had coal heater.
Coal, yeah. Okay,
so it was like, it used to be the basement for coal. So it was like all, like, the walls were black.
And whereabouts was this?
This is in Göttingen in Germany.
Okay.
Yeah, my
I was going to say,
hometown.
only Europe has that.
That's it. That's right. Yeah. So that's where it all started, and then eventually I joined the school big band
What did you play in the school big band?
Guitar.
Was it guitar?
It was
Okay.
guitar.
Guitar and okay.
Yeah,
that's-
because
yeah.
big bands are known
big
for
bands are- yeah.
brass sections
Yeah.
and woodwind and
That's it, yeah. But there's always a guitar in the background somewhere, and that's when I start discovering jazz. And that big band got
Okay.
invited to play at the local jazz festival in
okay.
Göttingen, and it's actually Göttingen has a really really good jazz festival
Oh, really?
with big international acts.
Oh, fantastic.
I've seen a lot of really good jazz from a young age, and
Okay.
that sort of that always fascinated me, and that always made me that made me want to do something similar or
Okay.
something, that inspired me. And then when I moved here, which was about 10 years ago maybe, I started looking for people to join or to start a new thing, which is
Mhm.
Kujo.
So
Yeah.
that was where Mount Kujo started. You got here, and then not long after that, you started Mount Kujo.
That's it.
Was
Yeah.
that your vision even before you came to this country?
It was, I mean, I don't really, I do have a vision, but I don't I allow for some, I don't know the word.
Improvisation.
Well, yeah, you could say that's it. Well, I don't want to just say, I don't want to be the one person who tells everyone what I want them to do. Some
Yeah.
band leaders are like that,
Yeah.
and it does work. I'm not saying it doesn't work.
Mm.
It's just not me,
Yeah. Yeah.
I invite everyone to be part of I want everybody to be able to shape the thing with me, rather than me having my thing and everybody else feels like they are. It's not the Max Myland band.
Yeah.
It's Mount Kujo,
Yeah.
and it's a group effort.
Such a good thing. Such a good thing to have as a band leader, to actually allow the other members to actually explore.
Yeah.
And see what comes up.
It makes it more interesting.
Oh, it sure does.
100%, and that's why the Kujo journey has really taken us to. It started as really we were inspired by Afrobeat and funk and Latin music,
Mm.
and we took that inspiration, but we're not a Latin band, or we're not an Afrobeat band, or we're not a traditional jazz. We're not doing any of that. We have elements of it,
Yeah.
but we've got so many different styles. There's the new album that is coming out next year in March, which we've just recorded. There's some tunes on there. It's got like a Cuban. One of the tunes has a Cuban feel. It's got upright bass, and it's all acoustic instruments. It sounds nothing like anything we've ever done before. Or Mr. Pink, like a secret agent style.
Yeah.
Sound could be a movie soundtrack to a secret agent movie. So like very different styles, and that happens because we've got all these people who bring their own inspiration and everything that they've sort of heard and felt into the project.
And I think one word I'm going to say is freedom.
Hmm.
Gives everyone the freedom to actually do what they think, and of course it might not be the end result of someone's idea or someone's thing, but I think everything put together, because there are a few of you guys in the band, so I think when everyone puts everything together and they work on an idea, and everyone puts their own sort of little stamp on it, that could be a beautiful thing. Because sometimes it's, as you said, you just here it is, these are the charts, or this is the arrangement, bang, just play it like this. No room for anything. And after all, it's a band that you're together. They're not session musicians, so you shouldn't be treating them like session musicians.
That's it.
So, but yeah, that's a very important thing with bands as well. You have to give them a bit of freedom, because you'd like that in return.
That's it.
So I think it's great. I think it's something that it's a quality that every musician should have, whether they're a MD or not.
It helps.
Yeah. Besides Mount Kujo, and besides that realm of that music, is there anything else that you see yourself doing, or anything that's outside of that realm?
Yeah, I started my solo project a couple of years ago. I mean, the idea was born a couple of years ago. I started properly maybe last year. Conto Milano, which is my my solo act. It involves like a sampler, about that size, and I sample my guitar, electric guitar, into the sampler and I sort of create the beat. I use a drum machine.
Yep.
And I use those sort of tools to create, what would you call them? Beats or tracks, you know?
Soundscapes,
electronics. Some soundscapey stuff in there, very sort of dreamy, dreamy sounds.
Yep. With effects and your delays and stuff like that on your guitar and everything. Yeah,
correct.
Yep.
So I've got that style in there, but it's sort of more electronic beats, and it's portable. So I've got it on. I can set it up on the back of my cargo bike, so I can transport it around and
with the trolley or whatever.
There's no need. No, it sits on the back of the bike, so I can actually ride.
You can ride the.
Not during the performance, but I can ride it to the gig, and then I set it up.
Don't need to take your car.
Oh,
That's
cool.
right.
Yeah.
That's
Cool.
right. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So it's future proof. Yeah.
Nice.
That's it. That's it.
Fantastic. And
Yeah.
how do you find that? Is that a different challenge for you to
It is.
actually perform that, because there's no one else to back you up in that?
That's it. It is. I'm doing the job of 3 people at least, and that is tricky, and it requires a lot of practice, and it also has really, I've left my comfort zone to sort of go into that, because it's a new style of music. I've never explored electronic music before, so it's the first time for me exploring electronic music, but also being by myself and having to do all the different things. So I'm used to being on stage playing the guitar, but doing other things on top of that while I also play the guitar.
Yep.
And then sort of getting into recording the loops, and you have to do a good take.
Yeah.
Because if you fuck it up, then
it's
that's
stuck in there.
it continues. It
Yeah.
repeats.
Well, I can talk to that. She does a lot of looping, and she's quite good at it.
You've got it. Oh, thank you. Yeah, you know all about that then. Yeah. You got to get it right.
You got to get it right.
Live,
That's it.
You can't. Otherwise, it's just that bung note or notes, unless
Or
you
the
can
rhythm.
somehow the rhythm's the most important. Almost.
That
That's
is
it.
a bit out.
Yeah. Well, luckily, I mean, that's it's not a pure loop thing. So I mean, I do have a
The
click.
sample there.
I have a
Oh, that's
click,
handy
and
though,
I can.
yeah.
I start with a kick drum, which
Yeah.
usually sits on the on the time, and then I just plug that in, and then I can play the drums, and it also helps me a bit. It quantizes the drums,
Yeah.
so it does help me.
Yeah.
And I've just found a way to if I make a mistake, I found a way to sort of
Undo.
and do it again, and I feel like it gets better, but it needs a lot of practice.
It does.
And it is
does.
an instrument by itself. It's like you can play the guitar for how long? 25 years of experience on guitar, but then all of a sudden you have this new instrument, and you have to learn how to do it from scratch.
Yeah.
And it's a challenge, but I like it.
Yeah. I think with that as well, and you might agree with me here, is that you can actually rehearse whenever you want, because you're a solo act and you can actually do that. The thing is, when you're rehearsing with a bigger band, you have to schedule everything. You have to, put time and everything like that.
Well, you know all about that.
Yeah, I know all about that. But when you're, and now, because I'm getting into that sort of stuff as well, looping and stuff like that, I find it much easier, because even though you're doing all this stuff, but you're doing it all on your own. So you're not, as great it can be to play in a band and rehearse and stuff like that, sometimes it's good just to get in there and just learn that and concentrate on that and see where you can take it. Because playing solo, I've done solo gigs a lot, without loops or without anything, just playing the guitar, right? It's hard.
Yeah,
It's
it
hard. And you get bored with your own sound, like you get, whereas this thing, it's like, oh, okay, we can change it now. We can put a different sound, or we can do this, or we can do that. And every time it's going to be slightly different,
Yeah.
And that's a different mindset as well.
It is. You have to be able to sort of you have to be more creative, because you don't have
Yeah.
other people to be, inspire. If you
Yeah.
play with other people, you inspire each other,
Yes.
and you sort of, someone gives you an idea, and you're like, okay, and then you play something, and then they're like, oh yeah, interesting, and it just flows. And if it's just you gotta give a bit more.
Definitely. and you got no one to rely on. And if you fuck it up,
That's it.
it's only you.
That's it. I've got backup plans though. If my system dies during the show, which has happened before,
Yeah.
I do have backup plans.
Okay.
I can.
Acoustic.
Well, I've got
Singing.
that's the final backup. Yeah,
Yeah.
singing. Well, not singing. Definitely not. But yeah, just doing guitar only.
And look, that in itself can be a big instrument. So that backup is quite good. It's a good backup to have.
Yeah.
When you came to Australia and you saw the music scene here, what were your first thoughts?
It's different from. I've lived in Berlin before I came here. And
Okay.
Berlin's
yeah.
big.
Yeah. say
Berlin
no
is
more.
Berlin
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
big.
Yeah, and it's got a good and it's got a good scene, a good music scene. But the thing in Berlin is the music scene is it's built around because I mean Berlin is known for the electronic music,
Raves and
that's-
trance and all that. Yeah.
That's it. And all the acts over there, no, not all of them obviously, but like many acts over there have a DJ or involved in the band.
Mm.
So there's a lot of sort of that DJ band or whatever you
Yeah.
want, call it whatever you want, but like that sort of thing, that's a big thing over there. And I started a group in Berlin called the Electronic Swing Orchestra, which
Okay.
was a DJ band.
Yeah.
Basically, we didn't have drums, we didn't have bass. It was
But you had a DJ.
we had a DJ,
Yeah.
and that was what the DJ was doing, and we sort of had the instruments around that, and that worked really well over there. And then when I first came here, I realized that there is a really rich scene here of music, like the band culture here is really good.
Mm.
And I'm not trying to sort of talk shit about the culture in Berlin, but I do realize that over there, a lot of this has been replaced by DJs.
Yep.
And the DJs are just, everybody loves, and obviously, like if you run a venue and you want to program an act, a DJ is obviously the cheaper option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And over there, the people just, you really have. And I worked as a sound engineer in one of those venues that does both, and they would book the most amazing artists, like bands, and they would put the bands on because everything starts later in Berlin, maybe 10 p.m.
yep.
The band would start, and there'd be like 10 people in the room watching the band, and I would be there. Where's everyone? This is an amazing band, and I would text my friends, say, "Hey, come and see this band. You have to." I'd do the sound check with them before, and I would realize they are amazing.
Yeah.
Come and see this band, and everybody would like rock up when the band packed up, because that's when the DJs would start.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, the DJ, because the DJs brought all the people in and they spent all their money, and it sort of financed, it made it possible for them to have these gigs in front of 10 people. Otherwise you wouldn't be able to, pay the musicians.
Exactly.
So it sort of it worked in that way. But I kept thinking, where's the support for the live musicians?
Yeah.
And I've seen over the years in Berlin, I've seen so many people put down their instruments and become DJs. Because it's
out of
such
necessity.
pretty much. And
Oh.
like some really good producers and people who have become, because they're musicians and they understand and they know what they need to do. They know they've been able to turn their stop their band and become really successful, live acts, and that's beautiful. But then
That's pivoting
it is
towards the finance.
it is, but it's just and coming back to your question now. Moving to Melbourne, realizing the all these beautiful live music, like the live music scene, all these beautiful bands and all these different genres
Yeah.
that are, it's
That's what-
insane.
that's what
It's
Melbourne
beautiful.
is.
Yes.
It's a melting pot of genres, of
It is.
people, of culture, of
Or
of
freedom,
taste.
like we were saying,
freedom.
freedom to express
Yeah.
through music. There's no judgment in terms of
Exactly.
like
Yeah.
like what you were saying with Mount Kujo, the ability to just let everyone collaborate and share ideas and
Yeah.
just see what happens.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And that is beautiful. Yeah.
It's Melbourne is it's a unique city. It's definitely the best city in Australia. I'm being biased, but it's from the years, like I'm born here, so I've seen it since a long time ago. So being born in the mid 70s, and my dad being also an artist and stuff back then, but you get to see all these transitions. Not only in not talking about music, I'm talking about life in general in Melbourne. And there's been all these ups and downs and everything, and I'm talking about Melbourne, not Australia, Melbourne, because I can vouch for it. The lifeline that I think, and this is probably because I'm a musician as well, but the lifeline within that all thing. But if you see the history as well, there's always been music there. There's always been places to go and see music. There's always been people to go and listen to within. Yes, there was a transition where DJs came up, in the clubs, but it was still music. So Melbourne has always had that thing where you can go out any night of the week and see a band or see a DJ and see something that's happening. Right? And I think that's what you're talking about when you came here, Melbourne. You saw that, and you saw that. Bands are actually playing, and they're not doing just one set before a DJ. They're actually doing the whole night.
That's it. It's actually the other way around. It's like you put on the band and everybody comes to watch the gig.
Yep.
And then you put on a DJ after and everybody leaves.
Yeah.
And you're like, whoa,
yeah.
what's going on? Like, can't we all have a good time after the gig? Do we all have to go home?
Yeah. And that's what happens here in Melbourne. And that I think is it's just, how Melbourne is, and that's just Melbourne's trait. It's always been that for the live music scene. But there's also a lot of musicians here.
Yes.
Heaps.
That's right.
Musicians have come to Melbourne from interstate.
Oh, internationally.
And interstate. And interstate.
Yeah.
But and they've made it their home, because it's actually that. You go out and you can see, even if there's 5 people at a gig, that band's going to give it its all. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's how Melbourne is.
I've heard good things about the music scene in Perth, though.
Oh, it's coming along.
It is, isn't it?
It's improved a lot since I was there.
You're not going to move back, are you?
No.
I have a friend. I have a good friend from Berlin, who's who's now in Perth, based in Perth, and he's trying to convince me to move there, and I'm trying to convince him to move here, and we're both
just move, or both of you move into South Australia, and it's halfway.
Oh wow, yeah. Look, that we'd have to all move in order to make that one work.
I mean, how many members in Mount Kujo?
Oh yeah, look, true, yeah.
But I mean, look, it's what you make it. It's what you make of it. Some artists are struggling, some artists are playing, some artists are doing other things, and
I feel like all artists are struggling. Actually.
Yeah, well, you're right.
It runs in the this line of work, doesn't it?
But some are struggling more than others.
That is true. Yeah,
right. So
I guess some are in different stages of their careers.
Yeah, definitely.
Some have maybe picked. And I was going to make a joke about picking the wrong genres.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks. No, yours is niche, and it's an amazing genre, and you'll get more work in that sense, because if someone's looking for a flamenco guitarist,
if they are looking for it, but it's it's like that. but
that's the beauty of Melbourne, is you'd actually be able to find venues. I mean, we have venues that really bring this kind of niche music.
Definitely.
Yeah.
If you want to go and see a pub band, you can go and see a pub band. If you want to go and see someone like yourselves, well, you can go and see that. And I find that we're a bit spoilt for choice from a perspective, not from an artist perspective, but from one who goes and sees artists, or who goes and listens to, because you can literally every night of the week you can pick and choose where you want to go.
That's it,
and that's beautiful. There's, it's like it's like, I don't know. It's probably not like New York, but it's it's headed towards that way, and it's very cultural.
That's it. But we have to look after it. We have to actually, like, people have to keep going. And I know there's been
there has been decline, hasn't there?
I think so.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's things aren't getting easier, and I think it really needs the support of the people who come and see the live shows to really. Because I know a few people who just quit because they just can't see, they're not getting anything back.
Yeah.
And they just can't,
Yeah, I totally agree, Max. Yeah. I totally agree. And there's a lot of there's a lot of organizations here in Melbourne that are looking at, supporting the musicians, supporting the artists and stuff like that. But they're just organization. And as I said it before, it has to come from government. It's not, like if it's the building sector or the sports sector, mate, they pour all this freaking money into it and they've got like a limitless budget. When it comes to us, we only work with our budget, which is at a minus, So, but you're right. There is there are other struggles, but we love music so much and we're passionate about it so much. Where sometimes you go and this is a bit sad, and it's where you're gonna do a gig and the only people who come and see are other musicians.
Yeah. Other friends who
friends
who you're collaborating with, and
it especially in like in the more progressive music genres.
Yeah,
that's the thing that happens.
Yeah. I know it happens in mine. It probably happens in yours, but I think it's very important to try and bust out of that vicious cycle.
Yeah, it is a bit of a cycle, isn't it? Yeah,
it is. Yeah. And just get things out there. There are so many musicians, so many great artists here, and you think it's always your mates or relatives or other musicians come and see you. You want that other crowd, that normal crowd, that
the normal crowd.
You want normal milk and normal crowds.
Yeah, normal crowd. Yeah. Because we're not normal, right? Artists are never normal. But you want to be able to play to the people, to all sorts of people, and get that, get your music heard, and everyone's got something to say with their music, So I think that's very important for an artist. Sometimes it's not about the music, money or anything like that. It's about playing to an audience that will reciprocate, and you give them that energy and you get that energy back. Look, not all genres everyone likes, but maybe sometimes you convert someone to like a genre.
They may not have heard it before, like for your flamenco gig. My friend initially was like, oh, I don't know if I like this flamenco, and then she, as it progressed, the night progressed, she's like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah,
because you never heard of it before.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but you're right, it's just getting to that wider audience that may not have experienced Mount Kujo or your ensemble or all those different fusion. I mean, it's quite a fusion what you do as well. So people might not have heard it before. Yeah, and besides our friends.
Yeah. But the great thing about fusion is that, as you said before, you got elements in there.
Yes.
Elements that people can relate to. You've got so many elements in there where there's bound to be one person to relate to what's going on in your music, right? And this is very important with fusion, where you're going to put that element in and say, oh, this sounds familiar. Oh, I like this, and then all of a sudden you're going to put another element in, and someone else is going to say, oh, okay, they're playing a bit of this. Oh, this is good. I'm going to follow that person, and that makes a difference, I think, sometimes. But if you go, sometimes the whole thing where you're going one genre and you're playing it traditionally, it's great. It's good for those people who actually really like it. But if you want to start converting some of those people and coming to those people that wouldn't usually come to a gig, you would like to come to, I think you need to change it a little bit. And this is why when I do flamenco, I change it a little bit so it can be a bit more accessible and a bit more understandable to the people. If I play pure flamenco, not a lot of people are going to sit there all night and listen, right? But if you mix it up, and I like to mix it up. I like to actually play a bit of this, a bit of that, and play with all these different types of musicians. But at the end of the day, it's about playing music and getting out there and playing to a good crowd, and that's what fulfills us, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I'm on that note, I'm going to steer it slightly in a different direction. You mentioned, I guess I'd like to hear more about your influences, and especially for Mount Kujo, because it is such a fusion. Like, who were you listening to growing up? You mentioned like obviously some jazz, but were there specific artists, musicians that you were inspired by?
The list is very long. So where do I start? I listened to Chicoria on the way here.
Oh, nice.
The king.
So, yes.
Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of good music out there, and I did what was the music that or a group that brought me to the genre.
It wasn't Chick Corea's Electric Band, was it?
I mean,
Mr. Gambale?
yeah, no, they're great. I wouldn't say they're like the first influence. It's just
It's most current.
lots of influence. There's even influences where you would never expect them to be an influence of Mount Kujo because it's a completely different style of music. But there's Donald Fagen and Steely Dan. I don't know if you're familiar with their work.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. And there's no
That's a bit odd.
because it's a completely different style of music.
Mm.
But then there's elements in there. I mean, and they've definitely got the jazz
Oh yeah, definitely.
in there, and in the arrangements. And then when you sort of listen to the Kujo arrangements, there are some details in there where you would say,
Okay. Yeah.
So that's something. That's something that I know a lot of the Kujo members like listening to that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And I'd have to think about this question and come back with
Put you on the
with a
spot
list.
there.
That's a little bit,
so many
yeah.
many
That's it. That's
to
it.
name.
Yeah, too many.
Yeah. No, I was just saying I just find it interesting because it's you wouldn't define Mount Kujo as one genre. So I was just curious as to who you're listening to. Yeah.
I just now that the International Jazz Festival is on in Melbourne, did go and see Ibu Taylor the other night.
Yeah, how was that?
And it was incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's definitely a personal favorite. He's a legend, and he's going. I don't know how old he is, but he's been around for a while, and he's still going. He's still going strong.
That's the beauty of music and being a musician. You can go until the day that you're not here anymore. Until there's been a few musicians, I think historically, that have passed away with their instruments in their hands. So that's the thing with music, with sport and every other probably other profession that is a bit more physical. You can't do that all your life.
Yeah, you have a small window.
Window. But with music, you can keep on creating. You can keep on doing. You can keep on. I did want to ask you. I know you mentioned before about everyone having their freedom in the band and having their ideas and stuff like that. But when it comes down to it, what's your approach to arranging your original music? How do you start? What is your approach? How do you where do you go? What is your go-to instrument? Where do you do? How do you do it? Do you do it on your own? Do you do it with the members of your band? What is your approach with the arrangements?
So we've tried different things, but getting into a room just with a rhythm group is a good way, and we just start playing a groove and often sit on that groove for a long time.
Yep.
Half an hour.
Yep.
Yep. And then we record that session, and then later we take it home and we listen for things that we like.
Okay.
About what we did.
Yep.
And if there's something in there that we like, we take that, and then I usually take that home and work on that and try to build on that.
Yep.
That's the contemplano approach.
Yeah.
I loop some guitar.
Yep.
Build it up. I play all the different. If I have an idea for a horn melody, I play it on guitar, or I might play it on with the horn sound on the synth. And it becomes this really weird sounding MIDI arrangement.
Yeah.
And it's really fun waiting a couple of years when we've played the song live for like years and years, and then going back and then listening to those first MIDI sketches is a lot of fun.
That's where the building blocks. That's where we started.
That's it.
Yeah.
But that's what happens. So we start in the room together, then I take it home, work on it or develop it, and then I bring it back into the room.
Okay.
And then that's usually when we have like a basic, at that point we have a basic arrangement, maybe an A part and a B part.
Yep.
But it's not an interesting arrangement just yet. It's more like we have an interesting groove.
Phase 1.
That's it.
And then phase 2.
And then we start, and then I ask people like, what do you think? What are you feeling? Can we do a C part, or should we do a key change, or should we change the time like that? We try very like different things to just make it interesting.
So it's really a discussion, isn't it, between all the members? That's how I say it. It's like it's a meeting of all the members, and everyone's sort of like giving their input. It's not sort of like one person saying, "Oh, this is the arrangement," and that's it, right?
Yeah,
So
that's
and
right.
that's a good thing, because all these minds are thinking at the same time, they're working at the same time with all these different instruments. So having that concept though, and having that approach, sometimes when things don't sound,
I was thinking that.
when they don't sound too good, and when there's a bit of a yes no thing happening within the band, or where someone thinks, "Oh no, I think this is good," or someone thinks, "No, it's not that good." Have you had that situation?
Yeah, definitely. It happens. I think two things that I've learned over the years in this creative process is that, because an idea, like, you can get attached to an idea, which can be good, but it can also hold you back.
Yeah.
So for example, I write something, I bring it into the room, and then I've got two things that I can do. I can say, this is what I wrote and this is how I want us to play it.
Yeah.
And then there's no invitation to collaborate on that. Or if I invite everyone, that's what I do, then I have to be flexible. I can't be like, I'm like, what do you think? And then you give me an idea, which might be a great idea. And I'm like, no, because I'm set in I've got
your
my vision. And then I might say no to a fantastic idea, because it hurts a little bit sometimes to sort of.
That's the ego.
That's it. you gotta push that away and just trust. Trust the process. And say, yes, let's try it.
Yes.
And then later we can all listen to it, and if we like it, we use it. If we don't like it, we don't. But not be too attached to sort of your own, like, being able to let go. And that's something that sort of I've learned over the years. And the other thing that I've learned is that everything, like every masterpiece, starts somewhere, and you don't have an idea and you play it and it sounds 100% great. That's not how it works. Everything starts and it doesn't sound like,
it's a bit shaky.
and you have to just, because a lot of people say, oh, it's this sort of symbol of, you draw something and you take the paper and you just throw it in the bin.
Yeah.
And that's something, like, I advise anyone who does that to not, because we all have so many artists who I've spoken to go through this process of creating something, and then we hate what we create. And then you leave it for 1 week and you come back to it and you're like, actually, this is genius. I love it. And then 1 week later you hate it again. And it's sort of these weird things, weird stages that it goes through.
That's just us as musicians.
It's a creative thing.
That's why we're not normal.
That's it. It's a thing that creatives have. It's true. It's true.
Yeah, that's right.
And
I've done it many
but
times.
if you trust the process and you say, I don't like the way it sounds right now, but actually I'm just gonna trust the process and just see what happens. And it can go both ways. Maybe you work on something and you can still later say, no, that's not good. But if you don't continue working on it, then you may be missing out on a great idea or on a masterpiece that you just put in the bin because at the time you didn't think it was any good.
Yeah, you have to give it the creative respect, I think, when you do something, because you've done it, obviously, for some reason it's come into your creative hands for some reason, right? And you're right, you shouldn't dismiss it straight away. And I think a lot of recording artists, and they'll do a recording, and I'm sure we've all been in the same situation where you'll record it today and you think, oh yeah, it sounds all right. You'll listen to it the next day and saying it sounds crap. This is where you're saying not to screw it up and throw it, because a month later or a month down the track you can probably use it for something else.
That's it. Or it may just need a bit more
massaging.
And that's it. And when I sort of, because we record so many things, like we record the process, so we can actually go in and see when did that happen. One of our Kujo, early Kujo tunes, which is called Earth Hum, I remember it wasn't a song. It was just a groove. It was just a loop, basically, and it was boring because nothing happened. And I wasn't even going to put it on the set list because it was so, it wasn't anything.
Yeah, it was bland.
That's it. And then we brought it into the room, and then someone came up with a B part, and then the horns were happened to be at that rehearsal, even though usually that creative process doesn't happen with the horns in the room. The creative process usually happens with the rhythm group.
Yeah.
But the horns happened to be there, and then like someone in the horn section said, "Oh, why don't we put chords?" And the horns, like the horn part in Earthham is pretty much just the horns playing the chords.
Yeah, okay.
But that just became this, like the dynamic of the song changed because
It grew.
it became this one of my personal favorites.
Yeah.
And it really went from being this loop that I didn't want to put on the set list to one of our singles, which we did a video clip for and everything, because it just had this input. And that's exactly what I'm saying. We could have chucked it in the bin at the time because we thought maybe it wasn't anything, but because we continued working on it, and it got to a level where we all love it. So
that's a great story, and that just goes to show that, you know, sometimes other people's input that you don't expect, like you were saying about the brass section or the horn section, you think, okay, well, maybe next time you'll bring them into the arrangement, into the arranging part as well, because everyone's got a different mindset, especially with different instruments. But sometimes, as you said, with this pure example, where someone that's outside of that arranging circle has come in and said, "Oh, why don't we do this, or why don't we put some chords in there? Why don't we do this or do that?" And it's changed the whole dynamic of the song.
That's right.
Become one of your favorites. So
that's right.
It's very
good
very
advice.
insightful.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and then every musician should follow the same, because as artists, sometimes we hate what we do, as you said before, and we don't go back and listen to what we've done, you know, because we do so many recordings and we do so many arrangements and compositions, and we don't go back to, you know, they don't even go back 3 days, let alone a year or two that you've been arranging. You know, it's very important to go back and listen to these things. And sometimes I'd do some things and just record it on my phone, and I'll just leave it. I won't even listen to it again. And then all of a sudden you go through it, and by mistake you'll see, oh, okay, oh, what was this? And you listen to it, you think, oh shit, it's actually not bad. I could probably use that for something, you know.
That's it.
But yeah, it's a very, very, very insightful. Going back to your solo work, when did you start that?
I think the idea was maybe 2 years ago.
Okay.
But it took me a while to go ahead and do it. And then I think maybe around, I would say about maybe coming up to 2 years ago. Did I just say 2 years? It's look, it's hard. Time goes by quick. But I think I started around Christmas time, because it was Christmas holidays.
Yep.
When I first started sort of building the first arrangements on the computer.
Yep.
And then it took me about 6 months to really figure out how to bring that, and how to really, like, sort of the technical side of things, how to you know, I can't bring my home studio to the gig, as let alone like to the streets as a busker. You know, I can't do that. So I really had to find a way, and so I built different setups and tried different things with different sort of pieces of gear, and it took quite a while to make that possible. And then the first gigs, I really had major technical problems every time. I would go, I would try it all at home, and it would be perfect, because, you know, it's peace and quiet.
Yeah.
And you've got time to set it all up.
Yeah.
And then you go somewhere and you've got 15 minutes to plug it all in. And then, you know, one of the things
the dynamics
doesn't
change,
work,
don't
and
they?
everything changes, and then you're
stressing out, and
then you're not focused. You don't have focus for the music, because you're focusing on all the gear, and you're constantly thinking, oh, what is that? The battery's low on this. What if that runs out? And you can't do a good performance, because your headspace is taken up with other things, and it took a while to.
So when that happened, did you actually change the way you rehearse at home? Did you actually put yourself in that sort of situation at home, like put yourself in the 15-minute? I've got bang, bang, bang. Did you?
Yeah,
I did. That?
I did practice the setup.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, something as a sound engineer, it's something that I do.
Yeah.
That kind of I do it for a living. So that part I figured I had more like a an approach where I was like, where are the problems and how can I fix them?
Yep.
And what do I need to replace in the chain of things
Yep.
in order to fix those? So I just eliminated the problems
Yep.
and then sort of solved that problem. But the other thing is the rehearsal of things, and what we were saying earlier about looping and the challenges with that. It's like I said, it's like an instrument, a different instrument, a new instrument that you have to learn. And how do you learn an instrument? By practicing.
Yep.
And the more time that you practice, the better you get at your instrument. It's not like about doing it right or wrong. It's about the time that you invest
Yep.
into practicing and learning. And that's what I started doing after having all these sort of technical difficulties at the start. Is I realized I need to invest more time into practicing, and that's when I got it to where I wanted to be.
And that was all part of your development.
That's it.
Yeah.
And the plan B and C, I guess.
Plan B and C, definitely, yeah. And I mean, busking is great too, because busking it's a different energy than if you're not on a stage up there, and the people are like expecting you to start at a certain time, and then you have a small window, and you have to deliver, and then that's it.
Yep.
It's like you can go, you can have a coffee, you can set up.
It's a bit more laid back.
It is laid back, and you have maybe 2 or 3 people stopping.
Yep.
If something goes wrong, worst case is the people that go about their day,
that's
and
right.
you can reboot your system,
Yeah.
and you can start again in half an hour.
Yeah.
But it happened to me once on a big stage where I set everything up, and then my whole system died on stage in front of a crowd, and it was.
And that'll
it
raise
wasn't
your
great.
anxiety.
And it
Yeah.
does, but luckily I do know how to troubleshoot, and I do know how to fix the problems, and I was
You know
able
your
to
system?
reboot. I know my system. That's it, and I was able to just reboot and start.
Tell
and
a joke and
that's
while
it.
it was
That's it.
rebooting.
Make it work. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different dynamic. Yeah, it's a different dynamic, as you said, when you're playing on the stage and you're time wise, and it's a different dynamic busking, and then it's a different dynamic if you do corporate things. It's everything's a different dynamic. I think everything's got its own beauty. Everything's got its own challenges. But I think the more you learn and the more you can do those sort of gigs, you get more fit. You can actually. If you've done it a fair few times, your anxiety level from when you first started, which is here, to when you do it more and more, it actually lowers, even if you got issues, problems with technical stuff and everything like that. I think it does reduce, and you get to focus a bit more.
Yeah.
So that it's all about the experience and how much you do of it, and the more you do, the more the more comfortable you're going to be, and even if things pop up, and I think that's where it all comes in, where you get gig fit.
Yeah. It's important. It's important, like you said, have extra plans up your sleeve. If I mean,
100%.
technology is, it's not always going to work.
That's it.
Depending on the venue as well, and they might be missing a cable, or you might be missing a cable, or which we've all, I'm sure, we've all experienced.
We have.
Yeah. Before we close, do you have any upcoming gigs?
Yes.
Yeah, we do actually. Yeah,
Go
we
for
do.
it.
We've got the album launch. We just booked that in for March
Mm-hmm.
March 29 at the Northcote Social.
Okay.
Club.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
North-
So that's going to be
sweet.
exciting, and that is a milestone that we're working towards.
Yeah.
It's the second album coming out on vinyl, so it's great.
Vinyl.
And
Fantastic.
leading up to that, we've got a couple of smaller shows, and there's going to be at least one more single release of another exciting single. So we've got, and there's festival season in between too. So we're going to be at FRL Festival, we're going to be at Tanglewood, and we're going to be at Renaissance Festival.
Beautiful.
Oh, all great
Fantastic.
festivals. Yeah.
Fantastic. Max, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Also, just wanted to thank our sponsor, Cake Eclipse, for these great cakes. And Amla, thank you as well.
Oh, thank you both.
Thanks to everyone. Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Till next time, ciao. The Strike A Chord Podcast, presented to you by ValentinoFlamenco.com and AmlaMusic.com.